Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you. So 21 years of this, obviously this is my first time, and great opening up, Mark. I'm really pleased and excited to be part of the team here and part of this conference. It's a pleasure to be here. I had a chance to participate in the events last night and hear some perspective, both from the panelists and from some of the discussions, and I look forward to today. So just first of all, just thank you for the opportunity. As Paul had said, actually he said two things. He said, you have 20 minutes, and he said, if you use 10, I'm going to ask you questions for 10. If you use 15, I'm going to ask you questions for 5. So I'm going to push right up to 20 in my opening remarks. Just kidding. So I've had the opportunity to step into the MD role here in Australia about 8 months ago, and it's first of all, it's a true privilege to be part of the industry here in Australia. I'm very proud to serve the team that we have in place, and like others, very proud to serve the customers that we do across Australia. I will talk about today a bit some global perspective on our business, obviously, and very importantly, talk about the local, how we approach our business here. I'll narrow in a bit onto the sustainability theme, and like Mark said, it is really core to what we do. So to carve it out is just a different conversation. I mean, yes, we can and should do that, but really, it's embedded in our strategy. It's embedded in our people approach. It's embedded in how we think and act in our communities, which at the end of the day is really what sustainability is about. I always start, and so I don't like to talk about myself, but I always start a bit about where I came from, and I assure you it's not a long story, but I am a proud farm boy with very rural beginnings, and I share that, and you can tell by my accent that isn't from the Australian bush. It is from small town Saskatchewan, Canada, which is it's the name Simpson, Saskatchewan. It's a town of 150 people. So as I've said to others, I will forgive you if you have not heard of it, but it's a beautiful place to visit. But I talk about that because it really does fuel my passion for what we do, and it doesn't matter if we're in Australia, if we're in Brazil, if we're in the US, if we're in Canada. A passion for this industry, a passion for the company that I work for, and very importantly, a passion for the customer in which we all serve, which is the grower. So I'm going to just, I'll share a bit of perspective just around Nutrien. So we are the world's largest producer of crop inputs, and we're the world's largest provider of agricultural services in our retail business. Our products, from a nutritional basis, from an NPK basis, serve over 60 countries. We ship into 60 countries around the world. Our retailing footprint is in 7 countries around the world: US, Canada, Brazil, Argentina, Uruguay, Chile, and very importantly, here in Australia. And I often say is we don't talk about our size just because we're proud of being big, or we want to talk about how big we are. Ultimately, we believe there's value, number one, for the shareholder, but most importantly, for our customers. And I'll just talk a bit about that. But the key for us is we do believe we have an integrated business, right from a wholesale to a retail. So right from the underground to the paddock. And we believe that affords us the agile and resilient supply chains, and we've seen that, and we know the importance of that. We see that in the portfolio of products and innovations and that we can bring, and that's there is a value in being global in nature, but you have to be very local in deployment, and we've seen that. And a strong balance sheet, as Mark talked about, is deploying capital in agriculture is a difficult thing because there's always cycles. There's cycles globally, there's cycles within a country, and there's cycles just within our companies of their appetite to invest. But certainly we believe our balance sheet affords us ability to invest in those ups and downs of the cycle, and we believe there's a lot of value in that. And as like everyone in this room, we're charged with the ability to do 2 things, is to invest for our shareholders' returns and our ability to invest and be in front of the trends that we're facing and where our customers are going. And that's it's a great balance to have, and sometimes it's a tough balance to have, but it's certainly core to what we do. So I'll just say these are some numbers on a page. I'm not going to read through them all, but when you think about, again, what Nutrien is and who we are, is we're a wholesale company and a retail company. And what that means is we produce about 27 million tons of crop nutrients. That's NPK. That's our potash production is in Saskatchewan, in Canada. Our nitrogen production is a third in Alberta, Canada, a third in the US, and a third in South America. And then we do have a smaller portion of our business, but we are a phosphate producer in the US as well. And then, as I said, we're a retailer throughout both in the north and southern hemispheres. And when you think about our footprint, we have about 4,000 agronomists, so that's right across our retail business in all the geographies in which we operate. We have about 23,000 employees globally. About 4,000 of those are here in Australia. And we're continuing to invest. So I'll talk about the retail, but just on the wholesale side is obviously with a lot of the disruption and conflict that's been going on, we've been ramping up some of our potash production. We're now able to produce about 15 million tons. And that's about 20% higher than what we did a couple years ago. And a lot of that was responding to opportunities and I would say also kind of social responsibility to our customers that depend on us. In our nitrogen business, obviously, we are a sequester of carbon being in agriculture. We're also an emitter of carbon being in the nitrogen business. That's a big global business for us. We're investing in bringing new capacity on. We believe obviously that's an important source of producing rich and abundant crops. But we're also investing in decarbonization, that footprint, both for agricultural purposes and where some of the trends are going in clean fuels and hydrogen as a fuel, which obviously ammonia is a big source carrier of that. And very importantly in our retail business, and this is a global theme, but certainly I'll apply it here to the Australian business, we're very much investing in our retail business, both in terms of our footprint. We don't have aspirations to be everywhere agriculture is. We really focus on the bread baskets of the world, Australia being one of those. It's an important market for us, and we believe we can and do add value to that. And then secondly, we're investing in our supply chain. Obviously, we have our manufacturing. That's part of our supply chain, but being able to get product from a port to a paddock requires a lot of infrastructure, a lot of investment, a lot of planning, a lot of systems, a lot of people, and we're continuing to mature that. As well as a lot of innovation. Again, as Mark said, the growers are very good at what they do and are very focused on applying technology that works on their farm. And we're trying to continually invest and make sure that we're able to help them in that journey, make sure we're bringing differentiated solutions, whether that's in sustainability and financing, in some of the digital ways of whether it's new ways of doing business or just better ways of doing business. So a lot on the go. When you think about just Australia, and I'll touch on this quick, is our footprint is about 4,000 people, as I said here. So a significant operation. We have about 700 locations throughout pretty much everywhere there's agriculture here in Australia. We have a number of wholesale partnerships as well through some of our independent network. And we continue to deploy dollars to grow and mature that footprint. If I look at kind of where we're deploying capital here in Australia, and I won't get into numbers as Mark kind of talked about is, returns and the diversity of our business. I thought I'd just kind of talk about the thematic areas that we're deploying. And you can see it. I've talked a lot of it. We're pushing about $100 million into this business in 2023 alone. Some of that is obviously in acquisitions and continuing to grow. Where we see opportunities and where we see that we can add value. Some of that is in infrastructure. I mean, if you look at moving products to service a grower's needs, we're continuing to invest, whether that was a few years ago as we invested in some of our infrastructure out in WA. We're bringing on some CP manufacturing capability here on the East Coast to ensure that we have resiliency and capacity in our CP markets, which obviously is we're deploying capital into that, and we'll have that online in 2024, 2025. A lot of work in the sustainability space. We're ramping up in terms of people, some of our digital assets, and some of our product technologies, whether that's in plant nutrition, whether that's in soil health, whether that's in the biologic space, biofertility, biostimulants, and different biological products. As well as I said, we're continuing to invest in our local footprint and maturing and managing that. Digital is a big piece, and you know we have this debate. Actually, I was in with our global colleagues here last week, and you always have this debate when you talk about digital. Is at the end of the day, we talk about digital and what we're doing in digital, not because we want to be cool and get a lift in our multiple from the market because we're digital, and I guess we should say we're AI and using all this new technology. That's not why we talk about digital. We talk about digital because of a problem that we're trying, a challenge that we're trying to serve and or solve and be part of solving. And we are investing a lot in digital, and it comes down to a real simple core is adding either convenience for our customer and our people, unlocking and creating access to new commercial opportunities, and very importantly, you know, trying to differentiate our experience. And everyone's going to solve and use digital in different ways. Some of those are going to be very common, and we gain value by collaborating. Some of those are going to be very unique, and we're trying to find that balance. But digital is a big portion of where we're investing capital. The other two, and I'll finish on this here quickly. I won't go too much longer, but just around people. Mark talked about this too, but you know, people is the core of what we do. I think probably every industry should say that, but I will assure you, agricultural has to say that. It does start, and I won't say it ends with people, but it certainly starts with people, and it's critical. And we're continuing to make sure not only that we're an attractive place and attracting the next generation into agriculture, but also the areas of diversity and inclusion, and making sure that we have growth not only in who works with us and how they work with us, but in terms of who's in leadership positions in our company. We certainly see the value of diversity and inclusion, and that's core to what we do. The other thing I just talked about is because really when you think about this whole theme of sustainability is where how you're deploying to invest in your business, how you're supporting your people. But I think sustainability, I know sustainability matters, is how you're supporting your communities. And here in Australia, it's over $3 million that we deployed in 2022. A lot of that is everything from big global national partnerships around needs in education and in health. But the most exciting, a third of that is coming just from the grassroots. How are people are investing and supporting local communities, and that's core to what we do. I'll just finish on this and just narrow in on sustainability because it is important. And I think a lot of I know a lot of our focus is around ensuring here in Australia that we've built a team in place. And we talk about sustainability. The important word we always put on front of it is commercial. It does matter. One is obviously for companies and people to deploy assets into a sustainability theme and space. It is the right thing to do, but you won't be able to do it long if you're not profitable. And that is core. That's core for our customers. That has to be core for throughout the value chain. So that's a big focus, making sure that there's profitability throughout the chain, not just in one part of the chain, throughout the chain. A lot of that is through partnerships. A lot of through that is through our digital investments. A lot of that is ensuring that we have the team and people in place. I'll probably finish on there just to give you some time for questions. And I thank you again for the opportunity to say a few words.
And thank you for your sincere start and finish in that presentation and all the way through. I think it was engaging and you know, very, very pleased. And we haven't rehearsed anything as we can say. And
so it's dangerous.
So, and Mark and I don't rehearse much either, so it's all good. Got a question up the back there, Max, but maybe before we get that one, just a quick one. We've got, I suppose, large and small companies that are tackling these diversity issues, the sustainability issues, the digital issues. So how does Nutrien interact with that wide gamut of small and medium and large type companies? Cargill's speaking later and they're going to be talking about how they do it, but you know, firstly with Nutrien, please.
Yeah, and number one is we view there's two, I'd say, uncompetitive spaces for us. There's safety is you know, we believe in value across partnerships. Obviously on the front end, sustainability, how you measure, how you move the industry along, how you verify and make sure that it's science-based in science, and how you measure the outcomes that are happening. We believe that in collaboration across that space. So I guess more specific to your question, partnerships are core in what we do. We're investing in people resources, we're investing in digital resources, but partnerships are core in what we do. And it doesn't matter how big you are or how small you are. We know to achieve something at scale is you have to look across the supply chain. In order for it to be commercial, there has to be economic value that sits at the farm, that sits at retail, that sits at the end gate. So I would say partnerships is core. Whether the size that you are and whether it's big company, medium company, or small company, it doesn't matter. We're really looking is, does it accelerate us to achieve something at scale? That becomes the key measure for us.
Thanks, Kelly. I'm Paul Fairhall. I'm from Austrade. I work in our investment promotion program, with working through our international network, supporting international businesses, including Nutrien, I imagine, from Canada. I just have a question, and hoping you might have some insights on the global supply chains for a lot of the critical inputs that all ag businesses are relying on, and that Nutrien is obviously a key player in. Whether you have views on the reliance on imports from different countries, and whether Australia should aspire to have more local production, or whether we should be just looking to shore up the supplies that we do have, just I guess from a cost competitive point of view as well as strategic supply. So big topic, I know, but any comments welcome.
It's a good question. And so one is just on obviously there's a lot of attention paid to, are we going to have enough? Doesn't matter what geography, you're going to have enough glyphosate, you're going to have enough fertilizer. Didn't matter if you're in Brazil, Canada, US, Australia. That was a common theme, and we don't have a public reporting thing as in March, but I can assure you, as Mark said, is we planted a crop this year. We're going to plant a crop next year. There is access to supply. In terms of more Australia, should they be a manufacturer? I always look at Australia as we are core to the supply chain. Obviously, we're an importer and an exporter, so we are part of the global supply chain. When it comes to manufacturing inputs in Australia, when it comes to the CP, I mean, everyone's very reliant on the Chinas and Indias of the world in importing actives. We are investing just as others in our spaces. Can we formulate? Can we have a more robust supply chain from port to the paddock? 100%. That's where dollars are flowing. Are we investing to ensure that we have surge capacity and reliability in our CP supply chain? Very much so. When it comes to fertilizer, I know there's a lot of projects being talked about in terms of, are we going to see more green ammonia? Are we going to see more nitrogen production here in Australia? I look at that as, if the economics support it, that's great. That's great for the Australian grower. That's great for the Australian supply chain. I guess when I look at whether Australia is going to be more backward integrated, it comes back to, is it a good place for investors to deploy capital? What matters in that is you have to have stable policies in place. You have to have strong incentives in place. If you look what's, I'll say for a global company, we are investing in bringing on new clean ammonia. That's happening in the US. One is because we have brownfield production there, so it's easier to build onto brownfield. We're located on tidewater. We have access to a lot of clean sourced energy, and there's a lot of incentive, government incentive. And I'm not here to petition to say the government needs to put more incentive in place, but it comes back down to, why is a grower going to support and engage in a more sustainable practices on their paddock? It's going to be economics. What's going to attract investment into new infrastructure in Australia? It's going to be returns. I think the other thing that just matters, I know I went on a little long, is what matters and how global companies or local companies can invest, is you want to have confidence in the policy frameworks that embolden that. Obviously, you need you need strong returns, and that sometimes comes with incentives to invest, especially at the front end. And the third piece is you need investment in infrastructure. I'll tell you, in Australia, is, you know, we have a very diverse and rural. So moving stuff just because you manufacture in an SA doesn't mean you're the most competitive source to get it up into far north Queensland. It didn't take me 8 months to figure that out. So I think what we believe it's important to have access and to have others want to serve the Australian market, and certainly Nutrien sees that.
That's a great start, Kelly, both with the Q&A and what you were talking about. And we've got a panel coming up shortly. So thank you very much,
Yeah.
Kelly and Nutrien.
Thanks.